Yeah, as I had posted, like, it'd be one thing if they just were, like, actually coping, or if they actually said, like, yeah, like, running the electricity for a month of AC would just bankrupt my great-grandchildren, instead of, like, "Oh, AC makes you sick." It's like Koreans, and Japanese people have this, thing that, like, if you run a fan while you're sleeping, you'll get pneumonia and die.
If they just were like
And, yeah, and
actually
it's like I sleep with the
coping
fan
or
on every night because I need the white noise. I sleep the white noise.
for a while. Like I
Wait,
haven't.
does that mean my audio works, or does,
Your audio works as usual. It's my audio device that got
uh
unselected, and so okay, there we go. Now we're cooking with audio. I'm gonna put some filters on. So yeah, as I was saying, it's nice to live in a developed nation with air conditioning.
it should be, it's like honestly, like, I think that last, bit of, like, GDP
Mm-hmm.
between, like, Romania and Singapore
Mm-hmm.
is just the difference in AC that allows you, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Europe just has to, like, totally shut down for the entirety of summer because, like, you can't be inside a building. You just have to be out on a patio
Mm-hmm.
drinking a nice beverage. But, if you have AC, you can be like Singapore and just trade stonks
Trade
until
stonks.
all day, every day.
Here, that's important. So I understand too, like we have to have the caveat of, like Europe is potato Europe at the very least is a much cooler climate
Singapore
than
and
a
just
lot of the
trade
US.
stonks
So
until
when it gets up into the
all day.
70s or the 80s, it is, especially in like the UK, it's like, oh, this is abnormally warm. Like it's not normally this hot. But see, to me, what that says is the burden of having to use your HVAC is that much lower. Like it's a
Right.
lot cheaper to do because you're not like I don't know how it is where you are, Max, but like right now we're already into like the 80s and like it's been in the 90s a couple of days already. And when my apartment, which faces southwest, gets blasted by the sun all fucking day on a 95-degree day in Utah, I need to run my damn HVAC a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But if I lived in Worstinghamford, Shiretonville, in Manchester region, Bergville, and I was really only dealing with like a 75-degree heat wave. I feel like that would be not that big of an engineerial. That's a new word. Feat.
I Oh, I mean, I think I live higher altitude and like way cooler overall.
Mhm.
So I generally don't put my AC in until like maybe mid-June, maybe July. Actually, I for the last 4 years I didn't even use my AC. And
Wow.
then
Okay.
I finally caved in and was like, "You know what? I want to be extra comfy
Hmm.
and sleep very cool."
Mm.
And so I'm gonna put my window unit in, and that's basically all I need is like
The window unit for
during
the
the
bedroom.
evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, window unit for the bedroom, and then like during the daytime, like if I need to cool off, I just will, you know, open downstairs. Because so like here's the thing about architecture. Architecture should be better
Hmm.
for this.
It
You
should.
should ideally have like earth ships. Like I hate to be like a total hippie about this, but like earth ships, if everybody lived in earth ships, you wouldn't really need AC, which is one of the reasons I don't really need AC is because my house is set up to passively cool. It's not because they actually designed it that way. It's that it's like a corporate cookie cutter build, but I happen to
Mhm.
pick the correct sun angle given the design of the house
Yeah.
to be able to passively cool and heat the house based on summer and winter. Like it's one of the reasons like I liked the house. It was like you can't change the location, you can't change the orientation of a home. And I'm half underground, so like I'm very well insulated and also can like get a lot of like sort of like a passive heat pump from the basement
Do
where
you
all the cool air. Yeah,
have protections against graboids?
slightly.
Slightly.
Yeah, I mean the cement. Well, if it busted through, I'd have to bust out the HK91.
Of
You
course, yeah.
know,
Of course. Yeah. But
it's not.
yeah, you should like just like a perimeter underground just wall of like rocks, concrete, just something to be safe.
Well, yeah, I mean it is concrete, but like that
Mhm.
didn't stop it from getting into Bert's
No,
basement.
that's true, but
Right.
that was also a much thinner wall. Like if you think
Yeah.
about it, one ran into like a drainage canal, which is like a much thicker like concrete wall compared to like the foundation of
Yeah.
the home. What is it? What is it? He's like spinning. He's like right here, like spinning back and forth. What's outside? What's outside? Is it kids or is it birds? What is it? Kids. Okay, great. All right, guys, let's not use the front of my apartment as like the playground. Oh, jeez. Okay.
Dude, it's something about my life that like kids like there's a lot of space on Earth, but like
Hmm.
the kids are specifically in front of
Your
where
house.
or like they're where I am is
I
where
mean,
they want to be.
you could make the
I
argument,
gotta yeah, it's a nice neighborhood or something like that.
or like they feel safe either around
Sure.
your presence or something, which is like okay, fine, whatever. But yeah, exactly. It's like guys, you have
I
this
don't want to be
whole
the mean
complex.
neighbor who's like, get off my fucking
Get
lawn.
off my lawn! Like, no, I don't want to be that guy. Because like that's the guy like your house gets egged and you fall in the driveway and nobody calls 911 and nobody wants to be in that house. Oh man, all right, they left finally. They need sure, yeah, with your little bazingo. What the? All right,
The fuck does that mean?
I think he wanted to say bazinga, but he said bazingo instead, and YouTube is like
Oh,
translating it automatically. Okay, apparently bazingo in Chinese means they need. That's interesting. Hello, missile launch. You know what? With that little snap it out of it thing, I think I'm gonna play the intro. That was good. That was a little kick. So here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Anti Happening Podcast, not the Alter Podcast. I was just commenting that we forgot to, well, we just haven't changed that video over yet. But we are on episode 212, I believe. I'm going to go confirm that shit real quick. 212, despite making up 13% of the population, black people account for about 50% of notable presidential assassination attempts recently. And I mean, probably since
I'm gonna say it's kind of a contrived statistic because I could think of at least two,
that's the
or
thing,
I can
because
think of
like,
three.
so before I
Wait,
made
oh,
this headline,
you're right,
no,
you're right, because
hang
there
on,
was the other one at the Hampton or
right?
the Hilton.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. I did
Oh,
research this beforehand, and it is a false statistic. This is fake news. Welcome to the Anarchist Podcast. We're full of shit. Congratulations, you found us out. There are all of these little incidents that are like not outright assassination attempts, but they're like emotionally disturbed people like fucking with border security or perimeter security or something. But we've got the dude in Pennsylvania on the sloped roof of Doom. We have the golf course shooter with his SKS with a scope duct taped to the top. Then we
no, it
have
was like garden hose, like clamp.
that's right, it was a fucking garden hose clamp to the top of his SKS. And then we had the Hampton Inn guy. And now we had this other one. And it's funny because there was one weekend that wasn't, I guess, notable because the guy didn't die. And then another one where the guy did die, but the second guy who got killed was also black. So if that's For counting that
Well,
one weekend, it's five in total.
the press corps
A press
one,
corps.
is that what you're yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, that's two white assassins and two black assassins. So, yeah. But no, there are all these
In
other
this
like
case, it's still 100% like dudes,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Which, it's a little different than like the school shooter stats, right?
Yeah.
Because those have been skewing very heavily
Those have been
towards,
changing recently. Like you've got more
uh,
trans individuals and
yeah.
I have seen more incidents like I'd have to look it up. And I don't remember when the last one was, but I have seen a couple of incidents of like women
Well,
losing their shit
yeah,
and
it
going
was.
off.
I mean, who's to say
Who's to
if
say?
you want to use their birth or their
Their slave gender or their slave name.
their their chosen sex
Yes.
for counting those statistically one way or the other.
Mm.
But there was like the Canadian. It was like Tumblr high school and
Oh, that's
stuff.
right. Yep, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then there was the guy that male to female at the hockey rink
Mhm.
or something.
Mhm.
Anyways, um, but yeah, I think this one was a case where first of all, the videos of the all the people, like all the press corps, like at their little like whatever you want to call
Reacting
them,
to the gunfire.
their hutches, their little pop up tent hutches or whatever, and then
Mhm.
reacting like, "What is that?
What is that?
What is that?" And then like the other girl, like after 8 shots, is like, "Oh yeah, that's gunfire," and like
Yeah.
ducks. But she like takes off the mic first and is like, "Just duck."
Seriously,
Like
what are you
it's
taking off the
actual
mic for?
gunfire.
I don't want him to
You
hear
don't
me
want to hear
scream.
people. Yeah, okay. Uh, but like the uh I think some people were comparing it to the season finale of The Boys,
uh
which I have not seen.
I haven't either. Like I haven't watched The Boys since season 1. Like I finished season 1 and I just for some reason I just never picked up season 2. Like I wasn't that taken with it, so I just never like not
Really?
it wasn't like, fuck that. It was just like, and I just kind of let it go and I don't know, like I guess I waited for
Not
more of it to develop
not
and
that compelling.
no, it
Yeah.
just wasn't that compelling and like I think the other issue I had with it is like it got really graphic with various things. And like that's how the comic is, and I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but I'm kind of past the whole like gratuitous violence, gratuitous nudity, gratuitous sexual shit. Like
Oh no, they definitely like were leaning into that. Like they
no,
wanted to
yeah.
go over the top on
Right,
the
right. Which I remember
gore
that there's
and the
all of this
nudity.
shit. There's all of this shit and I'm just like I really don't. No, I'm good. Like it's if you enjoy that, that's fine. Like it's whatever. It is what it is. But I just don't like the nudity. Especially is just like the problem is once you know how they do that stuff in Hollywood, like how they do sex scenes or orgies or whatever. Like it happened in the show. Like it's weird and like a lot of it too. It's not like it's not great. Like it's not all fun and games. It's like there's sexual assault. There's lots of terrible things that happens and I just don't care for that really anymore. And I also really can't like gratuitous violence to a certain point gets I don't know, it just feels boring to me. Like I remember a couple of years ago. Do you remember the game oh god, Brothers in Arms?
No.
It was a World War
No.
II shooter. It was around the same time as Call of Duty, but it was a little more tactics focused. So you played as like a squad leader, and you would give orders to like your AI squad mates, and they would basically the gameplay was like you would meet these like pockets of Germans in Europe, and like you would just have to defeat them. And it was like the motto was find them, fix them, flank them, finish them. And basically, what you would do is you would tell your team to like shut up and provide a base of fire, and then you would go around and flank them and try to like remove them. But it was like they did Normandy, they did Operation Market Garden, they did all that stuff, and it was like a really interesting series because it was one of the first World War II games I remember that really kind of delved into the topic of like PTSD. which you didn't really do a whole lot of. Like maybe you're like, oh, he's got some problems, but he's a warrior. Like they didn't like really show like the main character like hallucinating and like having like breakdowns and stuff while they're like going through the middle of Operation Market Garden. But the second Brothers in Arms, I think it was called Hell's Highway, did that, and it was really well done. Um, and I remember like it was a really well done series all the time. The combat was pretty good. The tactics was cool. I would compare it to another game. I don't know if you ever played Full Spectrum Warrior. Okay, another
No.
kind of like tactical sim shooter. But they didn't after the second one came out, and this was probably the 2000s. They let the series kind of go for a bit, and then they rebooted it. And I remember it was when E3 was still as a thing. They debuted this trailer, and everybody was psyched because it was like, oh, cool, new Brothers in Arms. And they rebooted it into this like, it wasn't quite like Team Fortress, but it basically was like Team Fortress or Team Fortress 2, that kind of like comic, like kind of like team based shooter thing.
Mhm.
And like I remember at the time, like it was supposed to all I think it was like right hot on the heels of Inglorious Bastards. So there was a lot of like gratuitous of them just like slaughtering like Wehrmacht soldiers. And like I get it because it's the old trope is like, oh, if they're Nazis they're fair game, you can kind of do whatever you want to them. But like when you know a little bit about history, you know it's not that simple. And they were just making a point to be like, yeah, man, look how you're fucking these Nazis up. And I think the thing that really bothered me was they did a little too well at making the Germans plea for their lives as you were slaughtering them. Because they're just
Mm.
like, no, please, no, the entire time. And it's just like, you're like ambushing them in like their barracks and you're shooting at them at like a dinner table and you're just fucking them up and they're suffering and it's supposed to be funny. And I remember that like after they played the trailer, everybody just kind of sat in the audience like, oh, okay.
Huh.
Like you
Okay.
fucked this series up, man. Like they fucked it up, but it was like that kind of like overly comical, gratuitous violence. Even if it's against somebody that like traditionally in media, you can fuck these people up. Like first it was Nazis and then it was like like evil communist Soviet soldiers or Cuban soldiers dropping from the sky. And then you have like, you're like your bad like Durka Durka men from the Middle East that you can just like bomb with impunity. And it's just, I don't know. Like I enjoy a good war film. I enjoy action. Like I love the John Wick series, but it's also not gratuitous violence. Like these are all individuals who are like they're on a mostly equal playing field trying to kill each other, or it's like a realistic portrayal of war, like Band of Brothers or Generation Kill, with a little artistic flair taken in. But it's like the point isn't just haha, killing is awesome, war is fun. It's just like I don't care for it. So like taking all that aside, that's why I kind of never picked the boys back up because like there was of course a little bit of that in season 1 and they were just like, "Oh, we're going to go over the top now." And I'm just like, "All right, okay." Cuz to me that's just like we don't really have a great plot or great writing, so we're just going to do this and this is going to be your shock and awe value that's going to supplant that. And it's just like, "No. No, it doesn't work." Like with Game of Thrones, it's another example where like you had shocking things happen, but there
Mhm.
was, like the writing is good, it's detailed. You can say what you want about the show, but I'd say like the first couple of seasons and really like season 4 is probably where like the show peaked. And like
Yeah.
the penultimate season, especially the end, was really well received. So, but there was a lot of complaints, like the Red Wedding, for example, was like a huge thing, just because of
Mhm.
how like they portrayed the violence against women, against Rob's pregnant wife,
Yeah.
um, which I get, but at the same time, it's like every other episode, some dude is like getting tortured to death, or he's getting flayed by Ramsay Bolton, or they're getting burned to death, or they're dying these like inglorious deaths, or all of this shit's happening, and you're okay with that. But that's where
Well,
we draw. Yeah.
yeah, so, like, the sadism against the enemy, like, it's always been, and I'll say, like, even in, like, we were actually rewatching a little bit of Band of Brothers,
Mm.
just a minute. before we got on,
Tis the season,
and
honestly. Like,
tis the season. But there's some moments where like you're like, oh, that's a little questionable.
mhm,
Like, guy's unarmed and got his hands up,
yeah,
or like is raising his hands, and
mhm,
um, there's like you were saying, like there's the Czech Legion, and like there's all these conscripts basically,
mhm.
and like if you spoke German, you'd realize like, oh, these guys are not die in the wool like Nazis
National
all to the
Socialists, yeah.
man.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like you
Um,
have the SS, and that's where the argument becomes harder because in order to join an SS battalion, you basically have to like carry water for the Nazi party. Like you have to be a National
yeah,
Socialist. And they cover that in Band of Brothers, especially at the end of the series when they're in the
yeah,
little mountain town and they're going to the Eagle's
yeah,
Nest. They're like, "Why is there nobody here?" And it's like because this is the one place where you cannot deny being a true Nazi.
yeah.
So there's nobody there.
Uh, and but then like but it's like nobody says like, oh, the Democrat Party nuked Japan.
Mhm.
Like people we don't talk that way
Oh my god.
about
Could you imagine that? Oh man. So
Harry S. Truman, 33rd degree Mason, dropped an atomic bomb directly above a Catholic church, the only Catholic church in Hiroshima. Um, that was the evil of the Democrat Party. They were
oh my god.
sacrificing children and Christians all the way back into 1945. But like we just don't talk that way about like other um political movements or wars or
Yeah.
something
Oh,
like that.
another
Like
good
even
example. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say like France during the revolution.
Yeah.
Like like the British were never like, oh, we have to take out these nasty Bonapartists, or something like that. They're just like, no, they're just French and they're fighting on their side. And like goes back to like this idea that everything has to be good versus evil
Hmm.
versus like the Iliad, where like Achilles and Hector are both heroes.
Hmm.
Neither of them do anything wrong
Yeah,
except
that's
Hector loses the fight. Like
exactly.
that's it. The only thing he does wrong is loses. Like he's there. Like you can be somebody's adversary without making them necessarily being evil. It's just like, oh, they're competing faction. You're in two separate groups and they're competing over the same thing, and that's shitty. That's the way it shakes out in
Hmm.
that certain case. But you don't like relish in the violence of it. And like there is a certain like point to be made about Achilles desecrating the corpse of
Hmm.
Hector,
Yeah.
and that where it's like that's why Achilles ends up in some respects. The other part is disrespecting the gods and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
Achilles ends up in hell because he was not honorable to honorable enemies and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, just the idea that everybody has to be evil for you to justify violence. And I saw another excellent point about this, which was the in Lord of the Rings,
Hmm.
which is to say, like the new series, they're trying to like make orc families with like
Oh my
orc
god, I
moms and
hated that.
babies,
Oh, they're just
and
trying to find a place to call home. They're just immigrants. It's just like, no, no, that's not how this works. You don't need to
and
humanize them.
here's the thing, like Tolkien, or like the origin of orcs as far as like families and birth is not really mentioned because you don't want to mention it.
Exactly.
And the I as I've come around to appreciating the series more, like Peter Jackson handled it the correct way, which is to say like, oh, they're born out of mud. They're like these artificial like
Hmm.
golems that get
Exactly.
like made, um and it's a good way to tell the viewer that like, you know what, you don't need to feel bad about the
Hmm.
orcs getting killed. But like if you were to like think through like what is a home life like, and it's like you could sum it up in 2 words, okay? It's rape and cannibalism.
Rape and
That's what
cannibalism, yeah. Like
that's
that's
what it
the other
is.
thing when they always like portrayed orcs and even the Uruk-hai like around each other, they're always ready to kill and eat each other. They
No,
do in the
yeah,
second
when they
movie.
get into Mordor and yeah,
Yeah,
they're in the tower,
exactly. Or
yeah,
in the
they
second
wanna
one,
kill each other. Yeah.
yeah, at the beginning they're like fighting over eating the hobbits, so they kill one of
Mhm.
the orcs and just eat the orc that's like being insubordinate.
Yeah.
But no, like
Yeah,
in the
it's
tower too, they kill each other. They all murder each other over nothing. But there is like Tolkien, he doesn't really go into detail about it, but you're supposed to be able to infer from the fact that like orcs are the legion of Sauron and Morgoth and all of this stuff that like they're corrupted. They're not created the same way all other life was by the Valar. I need Stephen Colbert here to check me on my Tolkienisms.
yeah.
I think it's the
Sorry, he's off
Valinor.
the air, so I
Oh, that's
can't.
right. That's right. Yeah, Valinor. So the Valar. Yeah, I think that's right. Just
Okay. Yeah, it
mercy,
sounds
mercy
right.
if I'm wrong.
Mm.
But they, you know, they sung the songs. They created the universe. It's been a while since I read the Silmarillion, but Morgoth basically is like jealous of their power and rises up against them, kind of like Satan against God, because he wants to essentially be like them and have their power and do as he sees fit. And they're like, no. And they beat him down. So he's constantly always trying to create his own things, but he can't actually create. So all he can really do is take what's already there and corrupt it, which is like a major part of how like the evil in Lord of Rings is set apart from the forces of good, because the forces of good actually have the ability to create naturally. Like humans and elves and orcs all have the ability to reproduce and create life. Wait, did I say orcs? Sorry. Humans
No.
and elves and
Yeah.
dwarves
Yes,
all
yes.
have the ability to
Mm,
reproduce
hobbits.
and create
Yeah.
life, and hobbits, but orcs don't. Orcs don't have this ability because they themselves did not come about naturally. They
Mhm.
were something else that over time was corrupted by the forces of evil. And that's why
Yeah.
they are the way they are. That's why they don't really have families or wives or children. There's just men, there's fighting males, because that's all they're needed for. Like their job is to take orders from the Dark Lord, whoever it may be, Morgoth or Sauron or Saruman, and they don't need to worry about their tax system. They don't have to worry about organizing like HR. There is like an engineers guild that like argues about how they're not producing enough weapons faster, so they need to dam up the river.
Yeah, there's some there's
Production quotas.
orc middle managers who
Yeah,
are trying to set realistic quotas for production of steel weapons.
exactly. So they're like suggesting, oh, maybe we should dam the river up. That would help increase production. So there's that. They have that.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, we need to increase quarterly profits. All right,
Uh,
scum. Time for
but
Q3 check-ins.
but like yeah, the it's probably a big part of just like assassination attempts ramping up
Mm-hmm.
is
It's an
just
election
like
year.
seeing your well, that's fair.
Mm,
Yeah, and then USA had lost all its funding for the
that
school
true.
shooting,
Yep.
so yeah, you gotta get the SPLC in on getting the
Oh, well, they got caught too. So there's like, what do you do at this point? All your funding keeps
yeah.
getting snatched up.
So uh what was I just saying? Oh, the assassination attempts. Yeah, just instead of seeing your opponents as like simply like opposed, like people who are competing for the same resources but aren't like necessarily bad
Mm-hmm.
for wanting those resources or something like that. Um, like yeah, just like oh, they have to be orcs basically.
Yeah.
And like that's a big thing with like even the Ukraine war. Like every time I see a post, like they call the Russians orcs basically, like
Mm-hmm.
trying to dehumanize them and stuff. So, but seeing the most recent like little clearly nobody thought that would work is the thing.
Hmm.
Like I don't I would assume he didn't think it would work. And if he did think it would work, then he's mentally ill. But I also think he was just mentally ill and was doing suicide by cop in the
Probably.
most sensical place he could think of. Definitely getting to achieve suicide by cop or something like that.
Also, you get a little more attention than you would normally. Like if you suicide by cop in the south side of Chicago, it's like, that happens. Oh, on the White House lawn? Oh, you're going to get talked about. Everyone's going to know who you are. So, what
Yeah,
else?
except I'm not gonna like bother remembering
Yeah, like
whatever.
the only thing I think I read about him is that he also like said he was Jesus Christ reincarnated or something like that, which is like, oh yeah, that
Okay.
tracks with mental illness. Okay, yeah. That's what
Yeah,
Jesus would do. Jesus would pick up the strap.
you
So
should take over half. You should start a civil war in the Chinese empire.
you absolutely
Uh,
should, but first you
if you
should
think you're the
try.
reincarnation of Jesus, like
First, though,
that's
no,
my
hang on.
first thing you
He's
should do.
gotta he's gotta try his hand at civil service first, and then once he fails out of the
Okay.
civil service exams, then we'll go there.
Ah, yes.
What else were we going to talk about? So I guess we didn't really get to talk about the whole simply having a Chinese time last time. We had Trump's visit to China. We had the mayor in California that got exposed as a Chinese agent. Has anything else happened with China recently?
Well, there's reports that they really have not imported any oil, and this is the one reason that like oil prices are as stable as they are, even though like they're ridiculously high.
Yep.
Like they're not as bad as they would be if China simply had not just built up the largest strategic petroleum reserve in the earth.
Hmm.
Um, Now the thing about that is that oil really only lasts about 6 months, even with like good stabilizers and stuff like that. So you have to continuously top it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they're getting about halfway through whatever reserve they might have. But the other part of that is that if they're gonna make a move, they have like the reason it's a strategic petroleum reserve is not just so you can allow your trucks to deliver food to grocery stores. It's
No,
also
it's
because your planes and your
yeah, and your
helicopters
tanks.
run on petrol and your tanks all still run on petroleum. But like
Mm-hmm.
you can soften that when you have like oodles of electric vehicles, like how
Mm-hmm.
long and you need to rely on gas. But yeah. I mean the trade deal like might be them calling a little bit uncle or something like that.
Maybe.
But I mean pivoting to the oil and China question, like US conducted fresh strikes in Iran
I saw that.
and then
So it's
um
funny, like thinking of there's a scenario in my head now. Are you familiar with the Tom Clancy novel, The Bear and the Dragon?
I've heard of it, but
Okay,
maybe
so
only because you've described a little bit of it, but I never yeah.
probably, but here's another dose. So it's been a while since I've read this book, but essentially it is post Cold War. I think the 90s it takes place. So you have like you look like a new Russia trying to find its place in the world. It's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still something to be reckoned with. And then you have China, which I don't remember why exactly. There's this whole thing with like I love Tom Clancy because like he really makes these plausible scenarios like come out of like midair and like everything is technically proficient and correct. But back in the day, you're familiar with the one child policy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for those of you who are not familiar, the one child policy was a policy that China had enacted in the 80s and 90s. I know for sure it was acted in the 90s. I don't know how long it actually went on, but a while, where you were basically limited to one child. And in Chinese society, a male child is far more valued than a female child. So what you had was a combination of various things, but there was a lot of infant femicide going on.
Yeah, so it was enacted nationwide in 1980
Okay.
and was officially ended in 2016.
Okay, thank you, Jamie.
So 36 years
36
of
years of a one child
of
policy.
of mandated one child.
That's actually wild that
Now
didn't end until
that was
2016.
that was mainly enforced in, like, urban
Yeah.
areas, so, like, if you were in a rural area of China, that it didn't really get enforced
Hmm.
that much.
But in urban
Um
areas, yeah, like it was, oh,
Mhm.
damn, we had a daughter. Shit. Well, and there was also like, if you got
Well,
pregnant,
I don't know if you've, experienced this, but, like, at least, in my life, I have met, because 'cause I'm around that age, where, a lot of Chinese couples would give up their daughters for
mhm,
adoption, and so there's a lot of, or I shouldn't say a lot, but there's I've met multiple, like, Chinese women that are, like,
mhm,
under the age of 40
mhm.
who were given up for adoption,
Huh.
by their parents, as part of the one-child policy, because their
Well, that's
parents, they were like, "Oh, we want a son, so we're gonna give away our firstborn was a daughter, we'll try again."
well, that's good they didn't kill those kids. Then that's good.
Yeah. But some of them, like, were, like, attempted, like, failed infanticide and stuff like that. Like,
Hmm.
they sometimes they'll have injuries from, like, needles and stuff like that, that, they tried to, infanticide them,
There
either in
was,
the womb or after they were born.
yeah, like there was, they talk about this in The Bear and the Dragon, and it's kind of like, thankfully the child lives at the end of this, like it doesn't happen, but
Mhm,
Clancy describes a practice in which, like, let's say a woman becomes pregnant and it's not like an authorized birth by the state. In the delivery room, as the baby's head is crowning, essentially, it was a practice to take a needle of formaldehyde and just into the head and just inject it. So
yeah.
I would normally paint this as like some sort of like extremist propaganda, but because Tom Clancy talks about this in depth and talks about how and why it happens and like the motives behind like the doctor for actually trying to go through with it. But basically the way it is the second the baby's head is actually completely out and it breathes, they can't do it. Like you can't inject it at that point. But until it's, I don't know, like remember exactly how it's explained. But basically the doctor was like, if the baby's head comes out completely, I'm not doing this. But like if it's an authorized burst and it's crowning, then guess what? But thankfully, something happens and the child lives. But there was, I think there was also like a Christian group at the same time that's protesting in China while this is happening. And the Chinese police, of course, don't tolerate that. Vis-a-vis, if we remember the Hong Kong protests that were brutally repressed. Um, so that
Well,
happens
Christianity in, China to this day,
is still
I
very
mean,
repressed.
I mentioned the, the yellow,
Boxer
what is it
Rebellion.
called? Well, yeah, it's kind of Taiping Rebellion, but,
Mm.
yeah, Taiping Rebellion, Boxer Rebellion. Um, but yeah, like, Christianity, like, as from the government standpoint, is like, I mean, they also see Islam this way, is like
Mhm.
basically a mental illness that, needs to be eradicated through institutionalization.
Yeah, I mean, communist states do this. Like Soviet Union also did the same thing. They permitted religion, but it was still very like before the 50s and 60s. Really, it was not like they killed a lot of Christians, a lot of Orthodox Christians, a lot of Catholics,
Mhm,
millions, in fact. But so essentially, this starts going on, and the U.S. president basically gets a bunch of allies, and they economically sanction China, and they also like rearrange. I guess they do some business dealings with the new Russia that
mhm,
kind of like puts China out, and then all of a sudden China realizes that like, oh fuck, we're gonna go broke. What do we do? And then there's this also part where they talk about in the Siberia area of Russia, there's like this massive, massive, massive reserves found of both gold and oil, like
m'kay,
billions upon billions upon billions of dollars in an area in Siberia that China could roll on if they wanted to.
mhm,
So the premise essentially is that towards the end of this, China invades Russia to attempt to secure those national resources because I don't remember the exact reasoning, but essentially it's just like if we don't think of a justification for do this, the people are going to storm the office building and they're going to kill us all because our economy is going to collapse, and with it will go our government. And so essentially they invade Russia, and in order to counter this, and it's actually kind of wild, the United States goes, "Hey Russia, do you want to join NATO?" And Russia's like, okay, and they do. And then the United States and Russia basically like the United States lend leases Russia through like this conflict and kind of walks them through like dealing with China's invasion and like aids them a lot. But there's also a lot of like espionage stuff that goes on. But essentially, like what we're talking about, where China is 3 months into its 6 month strategic like petroleum reserve, it kind of seems like that's almost the plan, that we're trying to exhaust their strategic petroleum preserve. Petroleum. Ugh. B, I could see them getting desperate enough to do something. Like maybe, with Taiwan or something else. But essentially, like, it would not be an implausible scenario for them to point a big gun at the microchip factories in Taiwan and go, "Hey, listen, either we come to a new solution that benefits everybody, or we're all about to have a really bad time." That really, unfortunately, Taiwan being right in their backyard, that's a realistic threat. And, it wouldn't make it, if it were to happen, of course, it would not be a psyop or any less engineered. Obviously, it seems like the United States is trying to make China do something. But I feel like within 3 months, maybe there's going to be a little saber rattling. Maybe a little bit more than some saber rattling.
I think the thing is if they're reading the writing on the wall, then
Mm-hmm.
they'll probably have made this decision 2 months ago,
Yeah. Like they
and
have kind of
they're
talked
just
about,
waiting.
yeah, waiting for it to
They
actually
they
get bad enough.
Well, no, they're waiting for all of the pieces to get in place, basically.
Mm-hmm. They did say, like, there was that, I remember there was like literally like a press briefing like the Chinese state government and military apparatus gave. I don't remember the exact term, but they said, I think it was a Hobbesian logic trap, where they're stuck in with the United States, and that like the only inevitable future is to prepare for war.
Mhm.
Hobbesian is probably not the word I'm looking for. Hang on. Let me see. China US logic trap.
But
Okay, I'm going to pronounce this. I'm going to try to pronounce this. I'm going to butcher this Greek name. Thucydides?
Thucydides?
Thucydides, thank you. Oh my goodness. The
I'm
Thucydides
not sure
trap.
if I'm saying that right,
No,
but
no, no.
based on my knowledge
Thucydides
of
sounds way better than whatever the fuck I just said. Okay, so the Thucydides trap is a concept originated by Herman Wauch, the novelist and World War II veteran, who used it in his Admiral Raymond A. Spruance lecture developed on April 16, 1980 at the U.S. Naval War College. Wauch compared the U.S.-Soviet Cold War to the Cold War that developed between Athens and Sparta once they had defeated Persia, their common enemy, remarking, "And more than 2 millennia later, we seem still trapped in Thucydides' world. None of the ways in which those quarrelsome Greeks behaved is suited to these dread times of nuclear menace, yet we still behave in those ways and can find no other. How do we break out of this Thucydidean trap? Woo! Which now threatens to strangle, if not destroy, our world." The term was then popularized by political scientists. Blah, 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 blah. Hang on. The term became widely used in 2015 and primarily applies to the analysis of China-United States relations. The expression was inspired by the ancient Athenian historian military commander Thucydides, used first in a speech. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Hang on. The trap is that pending the fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy, superpowers will continue to take up arms against each other, leaving the United States to depend on those who stand in the breach and serve. Despite the sadness of this predicament, Wauch believed that the United States was fortunate in that there are hundreds of Spruances in this country, and there are hundreds of young Netanyahus in Israel. Oh, fuck. Ah! Damn it! Check the early life of Thucydides, quick! And in America, there are thousands of Butch Williamses. Okay.
I gotta
Yeah,
check who
well,
Butch Williams is, but whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's the greatest. See, the thing is, like, China at best is like still just a regional power.
yeah,
Um,
like,
However, like as long as the U.S. keeps acting the way it is, like if you put the Europeans into a position where they're like, oh, I'd rather do business with the Chinese than the Americans,
hmm
um, that's where like the U.S. loses like global hegemon basically.
hmm
So, um, it the thing is like the empire has to die at some point somehow, and you could have a controlled demolition of it, sort of like maybe the British had,
well, controlled
and
also out of necessity because a lot of it just happened in World War II, like the final stroke.
yeah. No, it was out of necessity that they had to abandon the empire, but the alternative to that is there's not a great precedent for like a global empire collapsing, but I think what the version I harp on is like the Roman Empire collapse, which is like
Mm,
you don't realize it as it's happening, but it's just like your roads stop getting their potholes filled and the
hmm
bridges never get rebuilt.
And the
And that's
raids by bandits
exactly
start to
where
get a
we're
little
at
worse.
right now. The bridges will never get rebuilt
Yeah, the
in this
Francis Scott
country.
Key Bridge will never be rebuilt.
That building in Nashville that had a sophisticated RV explosion, um, they just do you not remember this?
Oh, that one, the Verizon Center or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like they only that was like 4 years ago, wasn't it?
that was 4 years ago on like
Um
Christmas. I remember that. Yeah.
yeah. Um Guess what? They finished demolishing that building.
Wow. Huh. Interesting.
Like, oh, 2020. It's been 6
Oh,
years
it's been
for them to
6 years.
demolish a building. So, yeah, I think that's here's the thing, like you'll be in a pocket of like function. Like the Romano British like held on for several hundred years until the Saxons arrived, but
Mhm.
like the Saxons kind of just co-opted the existing state structure. The thing is like that by the times the Saxons got there, like they had no idea what the like Roman ruins were.
Yeah, they
So they
thought they
like
were like
had
a
these
race
myths.
of mythical giants and advanced
Yeah.
peoples. You had the Byzantine Empire, which managed to go a little bit longer than the Western Roman Empire, but ultimately did
Well, oh no,
succumb.
they held on for 1500 years or
Yeah.
for another 1,000 years, right? But
hmm
like Charlemagne and the Franks, like I'm not like a Dark Ages. Certainly there was a rough period.
hmm
Like I forget if it's 565 or 555 because there was a year without a summer, like a
Yeah.
volcano erupted and the crops all failed and the Huns invaded, and all sorts of nasty shit. Like those were bad times.
hmm
But like the Franks and like the Catholic Church, like literacy was still a thing, like scientific innovation was still happening
hmm
all throughout that period. Like the medieval period, I hate to be a revisionist or woke and agree with modern historians on something,
hmm
but like it wasn't necessarily like just this downward trend because like even militarily, if you looked at like the armament of an early feudal knight or like a sergeant within like Charlemagne's army, like in the 700s,
hmm
and compared them to the outfit and the equipment of the Romans, the feudal knight in a 1-to-1 battle, or the Charlemagne's knight 300 years later would win. They had better equipment.
Yeah.
The problem is that you could only field like maybe a
A
couple
couple hundred.
thousand of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's. It was
Whereas the
less.
Romans could put 50,000 people in the field
Yeah,
like in a
exactly.
week's notice.
Legions upon legions. But I
And that's like
actually
the depopulation event that, might be the thing.
I actually do find, like, especially the decline of the Western Roman Empire and like that era, I find it very interesting because there's a lot of history there that like isn't really explored on or used in a whole lot of stuff. And I think a lot of people don't understand too that a lot of like the chivalrous knights and all of this, a lot of that happened. A lot of it started at the end of the Western Roman Empire, and continued on with the Byzantine Empire. But everybody thinks of like as like these two distinct things, which obviously in the year 1200, that's a long period of time. But even in like the 500s and the 600s, you still had a feudal society, and you had knights, you had castles, you had all of that shit going on, and nobody really associates like medieval times with Rome. There's this very distinct like divide, like the Roman Empire collapsed, and then we had medieval times. Like that's kind of
Mhm.
it. And I guess it's also because like I played enough Total War games. Like I played Total War Attila. I played, oh god, Bannerlord is another one I think that applies. Mountain Blade, excuse me. um but like I've read some historical fiction dealing with like the Huns invading the Western Roman Empire at the time, and like the early kind of Western Eastern Roman Empire, which there was a certain time where before the Western Empire collapsed, where the West was basically just kind of like a hollow placeholder, and all of the power was actually in the Eastern Roman Empire. Like for a minute, like Constantinople was the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, and that was where power really resided. And I'm going off on a fucking tangent here. What the hell was I talking about?
Logistics, the ability to field large armies. I'm not.
Oh shit,
Uh,
man. Okay, no, this is
Collapse of the empire into
collapse of the
medieval
empire.
times.
I guess I'm just going on a rant about how people don't associate like the Western Rome with like early medieval knights and early knighthood and that stuff, because there's a connection there. And okay, yeah, I was two of my one of my favorite like historical fiction writers is Michael Crichton, not Michael Crichton. I love Michael Crichton. Michael Curtis Ford. He does the 10,000 series, which essentially is a take on like Xenophon's March of the 10,000, into Persia and back. He talks
Mhm.
about a Roman emperor named Julian, who is known as Julian the Apostate, who came to power during a time when like the Roman Empire was Christian, and they did not tolerate other religions. And he was not a Christian, and he was like openly paganist, and it caused a lot of problems. But he was also the Roman Empire who tried to like rebuild the Second Temple, and he tried to like invade Persia, but like they talk a little bit in that about some stuff that's it's medieval warfare at that point. It's knights, mounted knights, stuff like this. And then you have stuff like this. You had there was another book called The Sword of Attila, which talks about the Huns invading Western Europe. And you like at the end of that, if you looked at those guys, you would go, okay, they kind of look like medieval knights a little bit. They've got chainmail. They don't have the big rectangular Roman shields and the horse crest helmets that like everybody associates with Rome. They had more like European looking knight equipment like that you would expect from back then in the medieval time. And these were the individuals who were dealing with the Hunnic invasions. Oh, logistics, right? No, see, like I just went there.
Yeah. I'll say like th- technology like doesn't ever really get uninvented in a respect.
Yeah.
Because like even in like w- very backwater Africa, like any given village, like tech priest, gunsmith can get an AK working again.
Hmm.
Is the thing. And so like you'll never uninvent the AK.
Hmm.
There will always be like a means of like scrapping together even after nuclear holocaust. Like people will be like riveting, like bending sheet metal from like abandoned cars, and like turning it into some version of an AK,
Hmm.
basically.
Using a shovel for a stock and
Yep, exactly. Beautiful stuff.
beautiful stuff.
You'll love to see it. Um,
Many such cases.
but like the next war, like this, the drone warfare on the Ukrainian front.
Hmm.
I
That's
think when you really see
terrifying.
that applied on a first world industrial basis that gets done by um like an actual competent nation like China,
Hmm.
potential has the potential to be. I'm not saying they are. I think they're a really corrupt regime.
Yep.
Like the US is corrupt, but at like China, they actually like execute people for embezzling state funds related to defense.
Hmm.
Um and so like I'm imagining like if I was the Chinese military planner, what I would want to do is like have like, oh, we're gonna have like this boat that just sails out into the strait,
Hmm.
and we will periodically drop off raw materials, and it will just 3D print like drone swarms.
That's terrifying.
It, and like, and that's the way the war is gonna like
Hmm.
trend towards. But like, because like the US is definitely fighting the last war in Iran. Like we've got manned fighter jets, we've got some drones going over and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And like Iran's fighting the next war with just really bad logistics.
Yep.
Like they're kind of where like the Nazis are at in 1944, 1945. They're like,
Hmm.
okay, we are gonna like bank on having really as high tech stuff as we can.
We
I
have
mean, the U.S.
guided
also has
missiles,
super.
yo.
We're going with the highest tech stuff that we can produce, but we can't produce maybe enough of it to really make like the difference that we need. Whereas the U.S. is like, we are also making the highest tech stuff we can make, but it's also like basically the stuff that was designed in 2003 when we first went into Iraq.
Yep.
Or not first went into Iraq, but when we were
First went into
thinking
Iraq
about
again.
when we first went back into Iraq for the third time. Uh,
I mean, if you think
so,
about a lot of our military too, like we still have B-52s. The Stratofortress is still in
oh
service.
yeah,
We still have the C-130s are actually also still very old. I am a firm believer that there will be the space shuttle door gunner will actually just be actually a guy hanging on the side of a C-130 with a nuclear pulse jet engine. But yeah, it's you were talking about the drones before too. Did you see the images of those towns in Ukraine and like Western Russia, like close to Ukraine, where they're just like covered in fiber optic cables from all of the drones and
oh yeah,
missiles and shit?
yeah. It's like in Australia when the outback, like the bush floods,
Hmm.
all the spiders and insects like swarm the canopy of the trees, and they set up their webs in the
Yeah,
trees, so it's just covered in webs. And I saw that, and that's immediately what I thought of.
yeah. I was
Um,
exactly. It's just so. It's very. It's
it's
creepy.
alien.
It's alien. It's creepy. It's just like it's also. It's just like. Can you imagine just like walking through that town, just with all of those cables, just chilling? Like, are there still even people there? Are there people who just kind of like? Oh my god! I hope not. That'd
I
be
hope
really
not.
annoying. Like trying to go to the grocery store, you just gotta like clean fiber optic cables off of you. Like,
Find the abandoned Ukrainian orphan in the drone spiderweb village, and see if they speak Latin or Greek. Um, Discover from first principles what the root language of the earth is.
so actually, it turns out they did find an orphan, and it's Albanian. It's Albanian, folks. Albanians.
Albanian is the root of all language. Okay,
Yep.
it's the Esperanto of the world.
What else do we want to
Like the
cover?
Tower of Babel.
The Tower of Babel.
Um,
We
I
covered more
I don't know what
China.
else.
We got the Trump shit. Did you hear about Hassan Piker?
Oh yeah, a little bit. I didn't read too much into it, aside
So
from the fact that like he's basically confessing to be a paid foreign actor.
yeah, that's basically what it is. Is like the DOJ served him with a subpoena because they're investigating like what he was doing in Cuba. because apparently he actually accepted money and services from the Cuban government in exchange, like carried water for the Cuban government. Like he was just like, yeah, they're not so bad, like all of this. And there were people saying like, oh, that's treason. It's like, no, it's not treason. However, it is actually illegal to act as a foreign agent for Cuba, especially. Like there are very old
Yeah.
laws about this. And so yeah, he's been subpoenaed, and apparently he's like really shook up about it.
I could see them actually growing a pair and maybe prosecuting somebody sometime
Maybe,
about something.
maybe.
But yeah, I think like maybe we had this conversation earlier, like a real like right wing cancel culture
Hmm.
would look like if you didn't support like executing Hassan Piker for treason, like you'd get fired from your office job where you like do sales reports or something like
Oh my
that.
god, that sounds like a wonderful. I'm kidding. But yeah, like you would have to go along with this. You couldn't even like
Like
we've talked. Yeah.
white collar workers that are doing TPS and Excel spreadsheets like around the water cooler, like if you aren't verbally affirming that you know, like all immigrants have to be like shipped back to Eritrea specifically, like not even their home country, just the Eritrean desert, like that you're gonna get you know, a visit from the FBI. They're gonna knock on your door
Hmm.
and talk to you like, oh, are you having some anti-patriotic thoughts lately? Something like that. Your boss brings you in and says that, you know, I hear you're not quite a team player, and Stacy had some
Yeah.
complaints about an
Stacy told me that
incident.
you said you didn't want Hassan Piker's execution to be televised live and free on television for everyone to see. Would you mind explaining why? Also, something along the lines of that's not fit for children. Why shouldn't children have the joy of seeing justice carried out on live television for them? Like, I don't know. It just sounds like you're really not a team player. You're not a patriot. I don't know if we can tolerate that here at this
Like
company.
it's not like it's a toss up whether you can be like criminally charged by the most right wing government in probably 100 years for collaborating with the communist regime in Cuba. Like that's a toss up,
Yeah,
and
that's
yet
it's like
like
there's still doubt. I mean, genuinely, I don't know because like there's no way. Let's say they do
water real
wind up.
quick. Sorry.
No, you're good. I guess what I could say is like there's no way you can indict him and have him serve jail and he doesn't immediately just become a martyr for the left. Like even though he might have actually, be guilty for it. And I'll go over this again with Max. So what I was saying is
Yep.
like there's no way, and I'm not actually, supporting the state in this, but hypothetically, let's say they do wind up doing the investigation and they do indict him and there is a trial and he does get found guilty and he goes to prison or gets punished somehow, I don't like I don't see the left not immediately trying to make a martyr of him. Which you could make the argument either way from an anarchist perspective. You could make the argument that this individual should be able to freely communicate to a foreign government if they want. But it's just like if you're going to turn around and like, do advertisements essentially for the Cuban regime, that's something different. And like you can make the strongest legal argument from a Western United States perspective from the left or the right and go, yeah, like, listen, it doesn't matter what side you're on. Like, he broke the fucking law. This is where we are. People are just not on the left are just not going to tolerate it. They're just going to see it as fascism, essentially, which is whatever. Like, you can make the argument there, but I can't really see this going through all the way because I feel like putting him in jail would be such, I don't know, it would make everything way more annoying, way
Here's
gayer,
the
way
thing, like
faker.
I think they want to make him feel like he's gonna go to jail, but, if they were smart about the prosecution, what they'd really do is get him to rat out everybody around him
Yeah.
and get
That
him to do, like, a plea
I
deal
didn't
where
even
he just
think about that, which I think he would do. I think he would
yeah,
roll
oh,
over
I
so
totally
fast.
think yeah, he's gonna fold really quick.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, there was a little clip where people are talking about Hassan's names Stingham, PSL, Answer, and Code Peak in a single stream. He discussed that the Treasury said the target is his operation, naming Party for Socialism and Liberation, Answer Coalition, and Code Pink, and anything that they Roy Stingham has ever financed. He Roy Stingham lives in China, has been a funding vehicle for political movements and activism in the United States.
Hmm.
And so I think, yeah, if they're gonna go after him, and he's already like crying uncle, basically, and he's just gonna take some plea deal where he's like, yeah, this is exactly how all the money works, and all these people are on the take from China.
And here's their phone
Because Cuba
numbers.
Cuba can't really afford to pay these people. Cuba doesn't have its own money. It's
Cuba,
China.
yeah, about to say, yeah, Cuba's got like they've got some conch shells and some cigars, but outside of that, you're just gonna have to give them a line of credit. Like,
Yep. Um, so, and if that gets looped into like Antifa stuff,
mm-hmm.
like you can dream that like you could uh prosecute people for setting up basically paramilitary militias that assault people for doing
Yeah,
basic things.
yeah,
uh
it's kind of open and shut.
but because like what if the shoe were on the other foot? You know, what would the or what's the Ben Shapiro quote? Like the intolerant left, like, oh, let's pretend it were the other way around, right?
mm-hmm.
Because every right wing militia that does any remote amount of organization, it's usually a Fed honeypot,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So it's basically um like the government, the U.S., the FBI, CIA whipping up and trying to contain right wingers, and meanwhile, like China's playing like the real game, like trying to like actually have, a cultural revolution within the United States or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I gotta say, like the left wing ground game, like I see stickers out there, like
Mm-hmm.
on post board on like telephone poles and stuff like that, and they're running with like the Epstein class stuff, and uh this whole the way Trump's treated that and like Massey getting out like has totally rug pulled any
Mm-hmm.
grassroots momentum for right wing people. Like I
Yeah.
like there's no like taste to stand and say like, oh, I love the GOP and the Republican Party. Like I see very very angry Facebook posts
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
about this stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see how the midterms end up.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting.
We
That
got
was
what,
actually
6 months?
6 months. There was another thing we can. This will maybe like the last thing we'll talk about, but there was another Supreme Court decision that struck down another redistricting attempt in Alabama that was supposed to give the GOP an advantage. So we've actually been seeing the Supreme Court strike down a lot of redistricting stuff, like left and right here. But like it seems like both parties are engaging in the same shit behavior, and the Supreme Court's just like, no, like you can't do this, and neither can you. Which, to their credit, not that I'm defending a government institution, like that's kind of
I
what
don't I don't
hate. I
I
would
don't
hate that.
think, I mean, judges are supposed to call, there's technically supposed to be, like the umpire, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
calling strikes and balls.
Exactly.
They're not really this is why anarchists oppose state-run courts, right? Is because you The judge also works for the state when the state's trying to prosecute you.
Mhm.
So you don't get a fair trial. But like in traditional like Anglo-Saxon law, the judge is actually a neutral third party that's a well-respected person within the community. Is why we call them Your Honor.
Mhm.
Um, and it was not a government official position. It was just like a recognized like community elder or wizard, if you will, like someone who is wise frequently is a wizard.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, is the cat jumping around?
Yeah, he's like,
I see this little fuzzy black thing like
so
teleporting.
there's this ridge that runs. It's is actually like the perfect apartment for a cat because all around, like my living room is also partially underground. So like I'd say, it's like 4 feet underground, just about. And there's this ridge that runs across like the room all the way, and it's perfect for him because it's just enough room for him to comfortably like run around, and he can access all the windows and get in behind the blinds and sit in front of the windows in the sunny spots. But it's perfect because he can go the entire length, like all the way from here, all the way back to that back corner back there, and he just has full run. And like I've got shit up on the shelves, but he just nimbly moves around them, and yeah, that's his thing. So when he especially wants me to like pay him attention, he'll start doing laps. And like he's gotten to the point where like back here again it's blurred out, but there's like this privacy screen here, and then there's the wall over here, and then this is where like I'll sit and like watch TV like lengthwise on the couch, and he'll run down, like he'll use me as like a ramp, and he'll just go like down my body, and he'll run and go upstairs and then come back, and just like whenever he gets the zoomies, I become part of the furniture. But that's what he does.
Nice, good, solid cat stuff.
Good call, solid cat stuff. Um, well, I think I think that's it for tonight. I'm sure some more stuff, unfortunately, will happen next week for next week's podcast, which we are
Things
staunch.
will continue happening
Things will continue to happening, but at the same time, nothing really ever happens,
despite our best efforts.
despite our best efforts. We will keep trying for you though. So, this time next week, you will catch us here. And we want to thank you guys for coming out and joining us. All 5 of you. No, wait, sorry, 11. We had 11 unique views.
Oh,
Not bad.
oh.
Um, we thank you all for coming out and listening to us talk, and for listening to me go on a very broken autistic rant about medieval warfare. But we hope everyone stays safe. We hope you all had a very good Memorial Day and you have a great summer. It's basically summer here in Utah. It's time. Like we have little like rain bursts here and there, but most days it's in the 80s now. So I'm living it. I'm about to be Puerto Rican. I already got like a great tan going on right now. So by the time your wedding rolls around, I'll probably look like a minority. I'll make sure I have my passport card on me when I'm traveling.
I've been trying to get my tan up. So,
Yeah, yeah.
anyways, are we? If before we talk about too much personal stuff, we should
Oh,
probably
you're not
call.
mentioned the wedding, not anything else, or when it was, or where. I would never. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for joining us. And as always, taxation is theft.